Now, of course, Lucien and Kerry gradually showing us that perhaps they've got feelings for each other. Maybe they are one day, perhaps outside of the house, going to get it together. But of course, last night we saw a completely different side to that story, as Amy actually stepped in there and changed the ball game.
Such an awkward situation when that stuff happens, isn't it? I'm sure everybody's probably been there at some point, but first I suppose we saw a lot of flirting over and back between. We see Lucien again. You know, he is the womanizer, and I don't know what really he gets. I think he just knows he can get away with it. You know, I suppose he's a good-looking guy. You know, at the end of the day, but for he can get away with that cheeky grins and the kind of winks and staring somebody like an Amy down, someone like a Tara Reid, someone like a Kerry down, and to the point where they kind of get that girly gigglish laugh and give in to him. But he's a pro at it, you can see it, and he's done it many a times, and even these smarmy chat-up lines that he unveiled during the week, you know, just proves that once again. But I suppose the awkward situation between, I suppose Tara was out of the picture, and Kerry and Amy, you know, it was obvious that they were both into him, and I think it was obvious that he was very much into Amy. Poor Kerry coming up short, on the other hand, was a little bit unfortunate. It's a huge topic that you could go completely in depth with, but I'll turn it back to you for a bit so I won't yak on too much.
Well, it's true, because you've kind of watched these two grow closer together, and it was a surprise to me. I didn't expect those two to be anyway close. I believed, you know, the hype of the Amy Lucien thing, which apparently I think it was producers, everybody was pushing that from the very get-go. I remember Lucien saying he was asked in interviews, will he get it on with Amy Cilds? And well, it looks like finally that's beginning to happen. Now, are those two kind of saying to themselves, well, the tabloid headlines are for us, really? I mean, Kerry would bring a bigger pay packet, I think, if they were to get a revealing story in the papers. If it was Lucien and Amy, maybe less so, and perhaps that's what the actual driving factor behind Lucien's thoughts are. You know, it just seems to me so unnatural that you'd be on camera trying to, I suppose, create something like that, or involving yourself in something like that. I know there's celebrities, and it's a little bit different from normal people, where they are trying to manipulate the press in some way, even subconsciously. So I'm not sure, again, whether this is a fauxmance between Amy and Lucien, or is it a situation that, yes, that is, but that Amy is sort of, well, meddling in the real relationship, which is perhaps Kerry and Lucien.
I think Amy is into him no matter what way you look at it, and I think likewise Lucien's into her, but I think he's more of a cheeky chappy, in and out kind of a guy, you know, to be honest with you. I don't know if that would be a long-standing thing for him. I'm sure he could just say, you know, not to be so crude about it, but he's been there with Amy Cilds. Now, Kerry, on the other hand, I think you know, she's obviously had her ups and downs over the years, and she seems like he's kind of, or her, sorry, type big time, and being up from her way as well. I'm sure she can relate to him more so than she can a Bobby or somebody like that. But you know, that I think the worst and the most cringiest part of the whole thing last night was how Amy, I think, purposely made that racket coming into the bedroom with Lucien, you know, and to almost say to Kerry, hey, you know, I've beaten you, and if you're asleep or if you're not asleep, you're going to know about it. And that's a side I didn't think that Amy had. I know last week we said we were both kind of fans of her, but I didn't really like to see that, and I don't like when people do that kind of stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, I reckon Amy was certainly playing that situation, you're right, because as you say, the noise that was made, it was very, very obvious that they were coming in laughing, and maybe Amy was in a sense trying to kind of make her mark, kind of, if you like, claim Lucien from Kerry. Of course, you saw Kerry then getting up and not reacting a whole lot, looking a bit kind of, a little bit annoyed by it, but going out to the kitchen and kind of not making too much in the way of reaction. I'm sure she kind of reminded herself, look, I can't as much as scowl here about this, even though there's no one else in the room, because everybody's going to see it. But then you saw that next morning where Kerry kind of jumped on those two's bed, and of course at that point I think they were top and tail. It wasn't like you maybe would expect, but Kerry jumped on that bed and kind of tried to interrupt it once again. So she certainly has eyes for the guy. Whether he only sees money, perhaps, in the sense of tabloid headlines, or whether he actually would like to get it on, if you like, with Kerry, I suppose time will definitely tell. I think all in all, we're going to see maybe 2 or 3 tabloid stories, perhaps Lucien with Kerry first, then maybe they might, throw it around a bit and go for Amy and Lucien. They could script whatever they want. They can write the stories in the Star.
And, I'm sure he could have a field day with it too at the end of the day,
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Kerry, she just seems like the type that would kind of fall for it. I won't say once again, but once again.
This is Big Brother Bites Back. We're talking Big Brother UK 2011 topics, and also reading your comments here in the chat room. We're live on justin.tv/Big Brother Bites Back, and also at youtube.com/Big Brother Bites Back for 10 minutes.